Hello and welcome to Chaotic Riff TV, and our special guest tonight is TD Clark. TD,
what's happening, man?
We're loving those guitar sounds, man. Wow. Let me ask you, TD, how long have you been playing the guitar? How old were you when you first started?
So I started playing piano first when I was about 6.
Oh, wow.
And then my grandpa started me on piano. And then I picked up guitar when I was probably, say, 10 years old. Somewhere around there, maybe 9.
So when you were starting out on the piano, like I'm assuming you took lessons, and let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, and then
so my grandpa, I have an interesting story. I'll try to make it quick. So my uncle Tim is only 4 years older than me, 3.5 years.
Wow.
I was a very early baby. My mother had me when she turned 20, and my grandmother had my uncle Tim when she was 40 in 1964, which is unfreaking heard of.
Well, yeah.
Mom had me in 67. So it was totally unheard of how this went down. So my Uncle Tim was this piano prodigy. He used to practice all the time. He was one of those kids you'd see on like public television playing with the London Philharmonic. He was like that. That's how good he was. He graduated conservatory downtown when he was like 11 or something ridiculous. So my grandfather would always work with him. So my grandfather would sit me on his lap and have me playing like the love theme from Romeo and Juliet. It's like...
Wow.
You know that one, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I was playing this when I was young, and I would sit with my grandpa and play, and that's how it all started. And then my grandparents moved from Park Ridge, Illinois to Arizona, and they took the piano with them.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, my mom was a single parent, so I spent all the time at my grandparents' house. So then we couldn't afford a piano.
Of course.
So I found a guitar in my mom's closet, a nylon guitar. As a matter of fact, you want to see the very first?
Sure. Yeah, love to. Love to.
Check this out. So this is the very first guitar I ever played. It was probably somewhere around Oh, it looks like it broke a string.
Oh, wow.
Know that. So I broke a string on this guitar. So this was the very first guitar I ever owned.
Wow.
So this is the very first. You're seeing it right here. A piece of history.
Beautiful. I love that. Wow.
I think my mom bought this probably like 1975 or something. Yeah. So this is like going way back.
Yeah.
And so that guitar, I used to drag out. I would go every summer. My mom would ship me off to Arizona to see my grandparents. And every summer I'd go out there with my guitar.
Wow.
And I would play guitar for my grandparents, who had the tolerance to deal with how terrible it was and still tell me they loved me, which was pretty interesting. And then I'd play some piano then too. And then I'd jam with my uncle, because by the time he was 16, 17, 18, and I was like 14, 15,
sure,
he was playing in bands on the circuit and going to California and playing and all this stuff. So we would jam, for the family and stuff like that. And I was more into guitar. I didn't play as much keyboard. And then when I got further into high school, I got back into playing piano because they had pianos in the music section of the school.
Sure.
I was taking these classes called Harmony and Arranging 1 and 2 with Mr. Parker. And I would always practice piano in the piano rooms. And then I bought a keyboard, and I'll never forget. I bought it was a Korg DX7 or something. I think that's what it was. And the thing cost like $1,000 in like 1987 or 86 or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
Ridiculous amounts of money. And the funniest thing is that nowadays, when I gig out with Poison Crew, I play keyboards on a bunch of songs, and it's like a $250 Yamaha, and it sounds 1,000 times better than my DX7 back in the day. It wasn't DX7, Korg what was it? It was a Korg. Was it Korg DS8?
Yeah.
The DX7, I think it was Yamaha. Maybe the Korg was a DS8 or something. All I remember is that the thing cost a fortune. And it was like one of the top boards at the time. Yeah. And you know, you can find Casios at Walmart that have more brain power. So weird. So that's kind of how it all started.
So let me ask you, TD. Wow. Let me ask you, as far as when you first started learning the piano, I was curious, did they teach you a lot of classical music? And
well, my grandfather taught me. He was the one who started me, and he would teach me whatever my uncle was working on, which was a variety of things. I remember I learned like the Snoopy thing, you know. So that's cool. I remember my grandpa would have me playing the I do that for like ever. So my little hand was going to fall off, and then once that hand was doing that, then my grandpa would be like, he would work on that. So I learned like the Sting, you know.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm trying to think how it went. So.
Yeah. Amazing, amazing. Now let me ask you, because the more you got into rock music, I was curious. And when you see bands like Deep Purple, you know, I often tell people, you know, they say, you often hear keyboards suck, they don't belong in rock music. I totally disagree with that. I mean, you look at what John Lord did in Deep Purple. You look at bands like Boston, Bon Jovi, all the great bands, and
Asia.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great keyboard songs. I think anything you put into the band that makes it better. I mean, look at Dream Theater.
Yeah.
Like, tell me Dream Theater with Kevin Moore and now Jordan Rudess. Are you kidding me? And they had Derek Sherinian. You don't think there should be keyboards? What are you, high? Those guys are awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what Edgar Winter did on Frankenstein. That's a keyboard song. Yeah. Wow. Man. Wow, you're killing it, taking me back, man. And so, of course, the more you get into rock music and you realize, you know, that you can have keyboards in rock music, I imagine it makes it that much more fun for a guy like you doing what you're doing.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. In our live sets, I really enjoy playing keyboards. And I should preface this by saying I'm a guitar player who plays keyboards. I can play a lot of songs and I can, you know, voice things out, and I do a bunch of guitar and keyboard at the same time on stuff. But I'm not Keith Emerson, and I'm, you know, not Rick Wakeman. I'm not, you know, some maestro like these guys. You know, I can play and stuff, and I really enjoy playing keyboards a lot. Like in Poison Crew, that's an 80s cover band I play in. I play keyboards in that band. It's a 4-piece, so I double on guitar and keys sometimes at the same time, and that makes it a lot of fun. And even when I'm playing, we do like Don't Close Your Eyes from Kicks, where I'm playing keys and I switch guitar and keys same time. And that makes it fun. I really do like playing more. Like, this is going to sound weird, but playing like 80s guitar songs all the time, like, gets a little boring. So this kind of like mixes it up a little bit.
Which is kind of interesting because, you know, people think of you like as a shredder type of guitar player, but I was listening to some of your music and some of it's quite soulful, you know?
Yeah, you know, it's a weird deal. So I do a record and people will say, you know, we want more melody. We want more melody. So you write a record and, you know, you do some shredding and stuff. But then live, everybody wants a million notes a second. It's a very weird thing. On the record, people want more melody. But live, people definitely want more, I don't know what you want to call it, shredding or more.
Hey, let me ask you about that because, again, people listen to some of your music. They might be surprised that it's not all a shred fest. there is some of that in your music, but like how would you describe your music? Like, would you say you're a shredder? I mean, you're one of those guys I think that can maybe do it all, you know?
Well, I mean, it's kind of one of these things to where, first off, when I write a song, whether it's instrumental or vocal, I want like a regular listener. When I mean a regular listener, is I want like someone who's cleaning their kitchen or maybe driving their kids to soccer or going for a run. They'll listen to the music and enjoy it. So I try to write, cool songs like that the everyman can enjoy.
You know, a great example of that is, have you had a chance to hear Paul Gilbert's new album, the Dio album, which is
Oh
interesting.
yeah, I heard some of those songs. They're great, man.
It's an instrumental album, but I mean, it's like he's singing through the guitar. I've never heard anything like that before.
Yep, I heard him doing Holy Diver or something the other day, and it was so cool.
Yeah, wow.
So speaking of, so I tuned my guitar to D. So I wrote this riff specifically. So this one is called, this is the title track for my Shred Time Stories album, and the riff's called. So I wrote that riff because I wanted something Van Halen-y, something, a little bit of Van Halen, a little bit of Rat, a little bit of Satriani, a little bit of maybe Eric Johnson. And, when I was doing that riff, it's like a fun, upbeat riff. And I thought it was kind of complicated too, because I'm doing like this D suspension. And then I go to an A minor suspended fourth and the A minor. Then I go to a G major 7 suspended fourth and then a G minor 7, I think.
Oh wow, wow!
It was like a cool turnaround. I'm trying to think, what is that chord? So this is a G major 7 octave. Okay, so it's a G major 7, add the octave, then a G minor major 7, add the octave. So anyway, so I wrote that riff and I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. Like, I think like the regular person just listening in the car would love this. I guess the reason I keep saying regular person is that a lot of my contemporaries, they write songs for guitar players.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Well,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Like when I listen to music, typically I listen to a lot of stuff that does have lyrics. And so when you listen to an instrumental piece of music, guitar-oriented album, you got to really, be able to, so every song does not sound the same. You want to be able to keep people's attention.
Yeah, and I think people with melodies, like on that last song, Shred Time Stories, the main lick is going. Wow. So that kind of like, I was trying to get the singing melody over that kind of groove and rock thing, and it switches from major to minor during the one section. It's going.
Wow.
So the melody's going.
So let me ask you, TD, when you do a vocal track, do you typically sit down and write the lyrics, or do you just kind of scat stuff as you're creating?
So a lot of times I'll come up with a riff. There's a song on my new record. It's called Bell Bottoms, and it's inspired by when I used to go to the roller rink as a kid. And I'd be 14, and there was these hot chicks who were, 16, 17, and they'd be skating around the rink, and we'd all be watching them, and we'd chase after them, and they were always with some dude who's probably a year or two older who'd always try to finagle him out to his van or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
The song's called Bell Bottoms, and the riff is just going.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
So the groove comes out, and I'm thinking to myself, it reminds me of skating. And I'm thinking to myself, holy crap, it totally reminds me of this one chick I had a crush on when I was like 14 or whatever. And so I wrote the whole thing, and the chorus is going.
Wow, wow.
Like, wow. And all I could envision the whole time is skating around.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you ever went roller skating as a
Yeah,
kid.
yeah. When I used to love it when I was a kid. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I'd go, and even when we were 13, 14, 15, we were still going, maybe even 16. Because we'd always go pick up girls. Well, we would try to pick up
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we had no game back then.
Yeah, join
Anyway,
the
so
club,
something
right?
like that,
Yeah.
like I had the riff going, and I didn't want to write anything that sounded super like 80s. I just wanted to be rock. This one's ended up sounding more like Kiss, maybe. It's got a
Oh, wow, wow. Yeah.
Kiss feel, a Lenny Kravitz. It's got this middle part's going.
Wow, wow, wow.
Got a little Kiss groove, or maybe almost a Lenny Kravitz feel.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So I didn't want to write vocal songs that just sound like me trying to be like Malmsteen or something like that.
yeah, the interesting thing is like when you create guitar oriented music, especially if it doesn't have lyrics, when typically when a person listens to a song, you listen to what the singer is singing, what the words are. Whereas with guitar oriented music like this, it's more about a feeling, more about emotion,
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, because with my solo band, we've done instrumental guitar. I've had a pretty long career, and I've done a lot of supports with big nationals. Like we did last year, Warrant, Blue Oyster Cult. We did Accept. We've done Rat 3, 4, 5 times. I've done Striper 3, 4, 5 times. I've done like 15, 16 shows with Michael Schenker Group. I've done a tour with Yngwie Malmsteen, a
Wow.
tour with Ted Nugent and Bad Company. We've done Great White. We've done so many things. And I think the reason is because even though I'm doing instrumental, the songs speak to the people. Like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
can jam along without it being overwhelming.
See, what must be fun for you is, talking about interpretation. I mean, it's very hard to interpret what an instrumental track. What I mean is, like I said, it's more about a feeling. And maybe a fan will come up to you and say,
Absolutely, I agree.
when I hear that song, it reminds me of this. And you probably tell them, oh, hey, if that's how it makes you feel, great, right?
Uh-huh. And I mean, so many people, like I've been pretty fortunate. Like I've actually sold, not millions of records, but I sold thousands of records. Yeah. And people will tell me, hey, you know what? I listen to this song every time I work out, or I listen to this song when I'm at work.
Yeah,
or I mean, tell me these things. It's really nice because, when you write songs, you want people to like them. I'm really not in the business of trying to impress guitar players.
I mean, TD, I'll be real honest. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I've been following you as far as back when MySpace was still around. Yep. And it's all about longevity to me. I mean, the fact that you can still have a career, still put out music that people will buy, still go play live. I mean, that speaks volumes.
I feel pretty fortunate. I mean, I've worked hard and my band has worked hard. I've had the same band, Brian McKenna on guitar, Vince Consolo on drums, Barry Kleiber on bass. They've been my hardcore band for about 12 years now. And we're like a brotherhood. Everybody says that and they go, whatever. But it's really true. When you're traveling, because like we'll go to LA. We did a bunch of shows with Michael Schenker at the Whiskey for Michael Schenker Fest when he had all the vocalists. We've done shows at the Whiskey. We've done shows, pretty much all over the place at the Bitter End in New York. We've done shows wherever. And we feel pretty lucky, like
if that wasn't true, but you wouldn't have the same lineup all these years,
Yeah. And I mean, and before that, I had a lot of guys in and out of the band. And it was mainly because when you're doing this instrumental guitar, it's, it's a different kind of thing. You have to love the music and you have to realize what you're getting into. And you really have to believe in what you're doing. And I've had people play on my records, great people over the years. And, they always put their all into it and stuff like that.
Let me ask you about one of those people, a mutual friend of ours I know, talking about shred time stories. There's a song, Drop D Sympathy with David. Oh, yeah. Talk a little bit about that. And have you and him ever done shows together or?
Oh, with Dave Schenkel.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, with Schenkel. So Schenkel's from the Chicagoland area here, and he had a great career. He was in Manowar.
Yeah.
And he had gold records with them and, he had co-writes on those records. He did really well, and he's done some other things. And so we played on each other's records and stuff like that. And Dave's like, insane shredder, all this over the neck. Crazy.
I urge people, if you're into guitar type music, check out Drop D Sympathy. It's a song off your Shred Time Stories album. Yep. It's almost like a double guitar shred.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's go. Yeah, that's the main riff for that song.
And
And
let
then
me ask you. Oh, wow. Wow. This is one of the more fun interviews I've done in quite a while, and so I'm going to have to invite you back, man, because we've just touched the surface. But before I let you go, a few more things. I was reading that you've written a couple of guitar and keyboard kid books, which is kind of an interesting thing. How did that come about, and why did you think of, hey, I'll write a couple books to teach kids?
You know what? Let me see if I have one handy. You want to see one if I have it handy?
Sure.
Let me go see if I can find one down here.
Wow, T.D. Clark, man, I've been impressed with this tonight.
So this is the book. It's a series of books called the Mars Jams. And so what happened was I write the book with the idea of when I would teach kids, like if you can see on here, each of the characters kind of has a bubble, and they talk to the kids. And the thing is when I would teach little kids before, the books sucked that they had. They were literally like a book from 1930 that they just.
You know what I liked about that? It looks so kid friendly, like a coloring book. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can. So you get in, and each one of the characters, they talk to you.
Wow.
So, like for instance, on page 1, you read here, and I ask the class, read Bjorn, read BB, read Brubar, and they all fight amongst themselves to read what the character has to say. And Stan, he's the drummer. He doesn't speak English. He only speaks Martian, so his bubbles don't make any sense.
Wow.
So then the other guys have to translate. The whole idea is you want the kids to be reading along. You want them engaged. You want them looking at the material.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like a lot of people, oh, you're going to learn the piano. You're going to learn classical music. I'm not into classical music, but that would make a kid interested, engaged. He'd want to go to the lesson.
Well, so with those books, so right now I run 10 after-school lesson programs with the 21st Century Learning Grant here in Aurora Schools 131. And we have 15 kids in each class. We provide them with a guitar, a gig bag, picks, a tuner, the Mars Jam book, spare strings. And we do we do twice a week for 4 weeks, so 8 1-hour classes. And they walk their way through the book. And the object is it's aimed at grades 1 through 5. And the reason that I chose that, a lot of people say to me, well, why didn't you write like some shred book? And, why didn't you do whatever?
I'll be honest. Advanced, yeah.
Here's how I feel. Like there's so many people who are catering to the adult market and probably doing a better job than I would. I said, well, what is my strength? I feel like I'm a good communicator, and I feel like I know how to make learning fun. I think I have a knack for making these things fun. And I sat down after trying to find a book to run these classes. I couldn't find one. I said, screw it, I'm going to write my own. Wow. So I sat down and I wrote the first book. Then I wrote a second guitar book. Then I wrote a keyboard book.
So is this self-published or somebody else put it out for you?
Oh, no, I self-published them.
Cool. I like that.
So, but you can order them. If you come into my Facebook, you can order the books. And they're super simple because I use guitar tablature. One of the things that I do, which is different, a lot of kids' books, they only want to use standard notation. And I don't have anything against standard notation, but it's difficult for kids to learn standard notation, which is like a whole language, and then learn how to play.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I have notation in there, but we lean on guitar tab. The reason being, it's so much easier to get 15 kids playing together when you can say the C note is the first fret, second string line. It's so much simpler to get a class of kids playing. And that's what you want.
You teach them like songs they hear on the radio, you teach them like nursery rhymes, like little kid songs?
So like I do what's called Martianizing. So I have Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Mars.
Yeah. Wow.
Old Bjorn Martian. Martian Footprints, like here's a tune.
Wow. Yeah.
Footprints. And then where's Old Bjorn Martian? That's a good one. Old Bjorn Martian. Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Mars.
Are some of these like original things you came up with?
Oh yeah, a lot of them are original. I use like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Mars, Old Bjorn Martian. But then I have a lot of the ones I've written myself, like Martian Footprints, right? And it's like stomp, 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 like they're stomping across there. And one of the things too, in my second guitar book, it's called Mars Jams Guitar 2, The Search for Stan. The book opens up and Stan, he likes to eat. So he floats up to try to grab a sandwich that's floating by in space. and he floats off Mars and he gets lost and he ends up out on like Uranus or something or
Wow,
Neptune.
wow.
So now the Martians have to bounce from planet to find Stan. So the book becomes it becomes like a science book because now you're learning about the planets in order
Yeah.
and different things. I wrote a song about each of the planets, rings of Saturn, storms of Jupiter, stuff like this.
Wow.
The moral is I want kids to be engaged. I want them to look at the music book and go,
Want it to be fun. All right. Yeah.
exactly. And I'm telling you, before I would use different people's books, basically what they would do is they would add cartoons or add things on top of age old, horrible, same types of music things they were teaching in 1940.
I think it's like anything in life. If you're bored with those old style books, of course the kids are going to be bored. And how can you teach it if you're bored? Right.
Well, that's the thing. And I can honestly say I've run this program in 4 states through 50, 60, 70 schools, 80 schools, 90 park districts, and they've always been successful. The kids have fun. And the most important thing about this is you want them to have fun. My goal with these books is to get them to have a positive time, that maybe they want to spend time doing music and do something with it.
You want it to be a positive experience. You don't want the kid to feel like mom and dad's taking them, kicking and screaming,
Absolutely. And I, like I said, I wrote these books and I'm actually working on another guitar book and I'm going to do another keyboard book. And I'm thinking to myself, like I've been expanding. So I had expanded the programs all over the place. But then I started this other company called Rockin' Toolboxes where I sell these giant toolboxes, and that thing blew up, became a 7-figure business. So now I'm managing that. So I had to scale down the lessons. Well, I was running them here locally, and all of a sudden the school district came to me and said, we want to expand. And now I've got 2 other school districts who want me to expand and like add 50 schools. And the thing is, I want to do it, but I got to get the infrastructure. So I'm trying to.
Have you ever thought about like having, do you want to go to all those schools yourself? You ever thought of having other like players?
Oh, no, I do. I have 4 other guys working for me right now. And I ultimately, if I decide to take on these other things, which I think I am, I'm going to hire a whole team of people.
Yeah, that's what I love. Your entrepreneur, attitude. I mean, it's great that you're successful doing your own musical thing, making your own music, but you do something like this on the side. I mean, I just love it. So, that's probably why I imagine during COVID and all the lockdowns, you were able to, keep a little busy, hopefully doing other stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like the toolbox business is completely outside of music. It's called Rockin' Toolboxes and super successful. And I have fun doing that. And I started
that Rockin' Toolbox. I've never heard of that.
Oh, yeah. If you check out our Facebook page, I sell big giant toolboxes and we shoot these funky videos that are totally funny to sell the toolboxes.
Check that out. Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. RockinToolboxes.com and Rockin' Toolboxes Facebook page. And so I started doing that 6-7 years ago. And the big thing I started that was I love the music business. I've been in it my whole life, but it's difficult to make lots and lots of money. I've always been able to make decent money, but I'm a single dad. I have 2 kids, one is 19, but she's looking to go to college maybe next year. My son is graduating from high school and
I see your son. I see one of your kids got married or something recently.
So my fiance's son got married last weekend.
Oh, okay, congratulations.
So my son was with us the whole time.
Yeah.
He's 16, going to be 17. But anyway, so the moral is I needed to make more money because where I live in Aurora, Illinois. Naperville, where we live, is kind of expensive. And so it's like, in order to be able to send kids to school and do normal things, you unfortunately make a lot of money. And it's a little bit difficult only doing music. So, but now I'm diversified. So there's always something making money and, life's a little simpler. I bought this new house like 3-4 years ago.
Wow.
It got a little better, like after my divorce, I was pretty hurting for a long time. And so I finally
that happens. Yeah.
But, I think I've been able to do music my whole life, and I appreciate you. And I think you said the other day you contacted me because you saw a video I shared.
Well, you made a comment. You shared a video, and I thought, I haven't interviewed in TD while I should reach out to him and see if he'd like to do an interview because just starting, talk about branching out. The last time I interviewed, I did old school way, like over the phone, and I got to thank a friend of mine. He really encouraged me to, hey, you should try to do these video interviews, and I finally embraced it and learned how to do it. And I've been having a lot of fun. I can tell you, this is one of the most fun interviews. We just started doing this start of this year. This is just one of the funnest interviews I've ever done. And so I'm going to tell you already, I'm going to invite you back. Before I let you go, TD, I got to ask you, there's something on your page about sixth string for Susan. So I want to give you a chance to talk about that a little.
Oh, so my fiance, Susan Schulz, she has cancer.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
And yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks. And it's a genetic cancer, and it attaches itself to either inside your bones or to your nerves. So she has one in her throat that's connected to her swallowing nerve and at the back of her neck. Then she has several more inside her spine in her lower back.
Are they able to treat it, or what's the prognosis, if you don't mind me asking?
So she was going through radiation. So 10 years ago, she had it. She went through a lot of radiation and it screwed her up, and then she came back because she's totally resilient. Like, she won't even talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
You would never even know. But then it flared up the last year. So she had to go for more radiation, and that sort of worked. Then they're trying this new chemo, but it's making her really, really sick, and it's causing all kinds of other problems. So this guy, Denny Blahunka, I believe, he's a fan of some of my bands, super nice gentleman. And he, on his own, put this whole thing together. And honestly, my heart just swells whenever I think about it. And Sue starts crying whenever she thinks about it, because he put together this whole thing on his time. And it's incredible. It's going to be in Rockford, Illinois. It's June 24th. There's like 4 bars and 20 bands involved. It's all day. You get a wristband. All the money goes to cancer. It's in Sue's name. She's going to be like the MC of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And her prognosis is like this. They don't know what this new treatment's going to do. Yeah. She doesn't know what's going to happen. I mean, is it terminal? Is she going to die next week? No.
You really don't know, but it's one of those things.
Yeah, long term, if it keeps going like it's going, I don't like to think about it, but she's in a lot of pain. She's in a lot of pain.
Yeah. I mean, I was amazed to find out that Eddie Van Halen was battling with his cancer for 20 years.
Yep. Well, Sue is in a lot of pain, and you see her in pictures, and she always looks glowing. And, I know I'm going to sound dogmatic, but she's very pretty. And you would never know. But when we get home at night, I'm massaging her back, giving her ice packs. She has a whole drawer of medicine she has to take. And she never complains. The weirdest thing, she never complains. She doesn't even talk about it.
I'm willing to bet, just by your description, that she probably worries more about you and the rest of the family than herself.
Dude, you are spot on. We talked about that over the weekend. She's the sickest of all of us by a long shot, and yet she's not worried about herself. I mean, she's just a lovely lady, and that's probably why Denny, did this for her. And, Denny Blahunka, he's a wonderful man, and he's done this great thing, and it's going to be a great success. And I really appreciate you bringing it up, Jason.
Yeah, I want to make a point. I wasn't sure who it was, but I'll tell you what, after that show, I'd love to have you back to talk about how it went and what you're up to, because you told me you're working on a new album. So next time I'd like to give you a chance to talk about that. But we're getting ready to run out of time. But I really enjoyed this so much, TD, and it'll be going up in the next week. So feel free to share it. And like I said, you're more than welcome back here anytime. I'm sure you will be. Okay.
Well, I appreciate you having me, man. I mean, I thought it was great when you popped in and said, "Hey, man, let's do an interview." I really appreciate you taking the time to interview me. I really appreciate you. Like
you said, I said, I don't know if you remember, but I've been following you way back to the MySpace.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I know it's like we go way back. We're still both at it, man. Look at it.
Yeah. Last question, my friend. I know you're a huge Def Leppard fan.
Oh yeah.
What do you think of? They're coming out next week with a new album. They're doing with the London Sympathy. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think anything Def Leppard does is pretty awesome.
I'm gonna check it out. I'll tell you that.
I'm for sure gonna check it out. For me, Pyromania is gonna be
40 years, baby. 40 years.
Pyromania, is one of my favorite.
Loving that, man. You're taking me back to 1983, 40 years ago. Can you believe it? TD Clark, it has been a pleasure, my friend. Over and out. You take care. Bye-bye.
All right, man. We'll see you, brother. Bye-bye.